The first thing, once we realize we're in a toxic relationship, we instead of getting out of the relationship first, begin to be you. Go back to tending to yourself, tending to your needs, tending to who you are, and then watch and see what happens in that relationship. Oftentimes, that person leaves you.
Here's how to get out of a toxic relationship. I don't actually know, so we're going to pass it over to Rich. But before we do that, I cannot, you cannot, we cannot experience a truly successful life on this planet unless we experience success in each of the 5 areas, which is what the 5 ideas and the 5 ideas method are all about. 5 areas are relationships, money, faith and spirituality, health and fitness, and peak performance, which is you becoming the best version of you, not somebody else, you. I like to sum it all up with one question. What is the point of having money if I don't have my health to enjoy it, and if I have no one to share it with, and if in a few short years my life's over and there's nothing afterwards? While there is a point, you do have a purpose in your life, and to experience true success, you do have to be successful in each of the 5 areas, which is why Coach Rich Clay came up with the 5 ideas method, and that's what he coaches all of his clients through. And his clients include a list of pretty successful individuals, millionaires, athletes, actors, presidents, CEOs, etc. The list goes on and on and on. And you guys.
Yeah.
So welcome to the show, and we're talking...
And you.
Yeah, and myself. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're talking toxic relationships.
And how to get out.
And how to get out of them. And speaking of... I'll give you a little story because many of you can relate to this. And when we talk about toxic relationships, we're not just talking about romantic relationships. We're talking about relationships in life. And when I was growing up...
Could be coaches, bosses, coworkers, parents, siblings, cousins. Not just romantic.
Aunties,
definitely romantic.
Uncles, etc., right?
Yep. Anyway.
Good call. So I loved sports growing up. And coaches, I almost idolized coaches. And I would do anything for coaches. I'd run through the wall. So I was always this classic athlete that never gave a coach a problem, always hustled, would run through the wall for the coach. The coaches, by and large, appreciated me, liked me. I wasn't the most talented or gifted athlete by any stretch of the imagination, but I loved playing. But I had this one coach, and there was nothing I could do to please him, make him happy. He was just nasty guy, man. He was just on me. I don't know what it was. You're too young to go, the guy's probably got problems at home, or he's hung up on something else and he's taking it out on this
kid,
14-year-old kid, right?
Wow,
it was very toxic. And I remember this is the effect it had on me. I almost quit the team and almost dropped out of sports. And that was the love of my life.
Wow.
So we use the word toxic a lot, but here's how I define it. If you're in a toxic relationship, it causes you to literally become a different person than you really are. You start to turn away from the things you love, from the things that you enjoy, from the passions and purpose of your life, and you kind of get sour about life.
It's poison.
That's why they call it toxic.
Yep.
And that's how you know you're in a toxic relationship. So the first thing you have to do to get out of a toxic relationship is what? Identify
it. And how can we identify a toxic relationship?
Well, like I said, I think if you're seeing behaviors in yourself that are not normal, if you're discouraged, if you're not the person God created you to be, if you start doing something to impress that person in such a way because that you're not being you, I tried doing everything to prove to this guy that I could do my coach. So you start to change who you are, and you don't really feel good about it, and you know it, but you're caught in this toxic relationship. And that's why I say identifying, because how many times are people in relationships and they kind of know it's toxic, but they don't really know what it's doing to them. They
Wow.
know they're not happy, but they don't know how to get out of it, and they're mainly a lot of times they're not happy because they're trying to make the relationship work, and the relationship wasn't probably ever meant to work.
Wow. So if you have to change who you are naturally and do things that you wouldn't naturally normally do or even really think about doing just to impress or please or make happy this other person that you're in some sort of relationship with,
It's toxic.
it's toxic.
Without question. And I'm like, I get really vigilant about my clients being true to who they are. I want them to be the person that God's created them to be, to know that they're special, to know that they were designed by God, to know they have special giftings. And when they start to forfeit that because of another person's opinion, that's a toxic relationship.
Yeah, because basically you're dying.
Yeah.
Who you are, is dying, and this shell of this person that's just making this other person happy or living up to their standards or whatever took your place, and that poison, that toxicity has tainted you so much that you don't even recognize yourself anymore, and that's not a place that anyone wants to be in. So how do we get out of it?
How do we get out of it? So the first thing, once we realize we're in a toxic relationship, we, instead of getting out of the relationship first, begin to be you. Just begin to be you. If you haven't been honest, be honest. If you've sacrificed all your time, all your desires, and all your wants, go back to tending to yourself, tending to your needs, tending to who you are, and then watch and see what happens in that relationship. Oftentimes, that person leaves you because you have been giving them everything they've wanted, and they've been in control of the relationship. And as soon as they're no longer in control of the relationship, you'll find out where they're at. So the first step is just be who you are. Be who you're called to be. Why are you wearing that shirt? Why are you wearing your hair at a certain length? Why are you working at a certain job? Why are you listening to certain music? Why are you into certain substances that maybe you shouldn't be in? Is it because that is the true you, or is it because you're in a relationship where those people are controlling your actions? That's a toxic relationship.
Wow. So
why do you feel bad about yourself? Why do you feel like you're a loser? Why do you feel like you're not enough? You're in a relationship with somebody that's just pulling all of that out of you so that they can control. That's what a toxic.
And this could be a boss.
It can be a boss, parent, coach,
sibling, friend,
auntie, uncle.
Yep. Cousin, significant other for sure.
Person you grew up with. Mm-hmm.
So what would be some characteristics of someone who's the opposite of a toxic relationship? What kind of fruits would that produce if you had a person in your corner who was wanting you to be the best version of you?
They respect you enough to allow you to be who you are.
Kind of like you.
They accept
and
you.
5 ideas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't try to change people at all.
No.
My desire as a coach is never to change somebody. It's to see you bring out the best version of yourself.
Absolutely.
And somebody, you're in a great relationship where when that person just wants the best for you wants you to be who you are. If there's a why would I want to change you? Why would I want to change Joey Nagel? You know what that does to me? All right, this comes into faith and spirituality. That goes against the very essence of who God is and who he created us to be.
Yep.
In his image, in his likeness, unique in every way. Before we were formed in our mother's womb, the Bible says he knew us. And so a person that tampers with that is nobody I want to be around.
And I want to also say that maybe you're sitting here thinking like, shoot, I've been a toxic person to others. I've learned in my life and through coaching and through the show that toxicity, likeness attracts likeness. So if you've been in a toxic relationship for so long, you're not even you could be toxic to others because it's not you. It's the poison version of you. And the person being toxic to you could be the poison version of them, toxifying you. So a principle we learned on the show and through coaching is if you want to reap a harvest of something, you got to sow that thing. So if you want relationships where people are constantly building you up, constantly encouraging you, constantly in your corner, the best way to get those relationships is to be that person to others.
Absolutely. And every toxic relation.
Sorry about the noise up there. We're all right.
Every toxic relationship that I've ever coached people through, there was an enormous amount of negativity. So we're not just talking about a bad day.
No.
We're not talking about where somebody just doesn't jam, everybody has that.
Yep.
We're talking about constant negativity where you are being brought lower and lower and lower. And to a point where you love sports and you want to quit the game that you love.
Yeah, that doesn't happen one day.
No. So that's, those are the things that we can identify. And then stepping out of it, to be really honest with you, it requires a boldness in you. You were going somewhere, and I'm going to pick up on that.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, if we're attracted to somebody that's toxic, we need to look at that. What is that? What is drawing me to that person? What control do they have over me that I'm giving them? I say this to clients all the time. I never want to see you give up your power. Do not give up your power. And what I mean by that is don't let go of who you are. Don't let go of the value that you have for yourself. And most toxic relationships are absolutely filled with negativity. And once you step away from that, it's like going, whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how negative I have.
The veil comes off your eyes. Yep. It's like, it's a totally different life. If you're in a toxic relationship, a lot of us are, or have been at one point in our lives, or may be in the future, you know that you need to identify them. And the way to identify them is to really take an inventory and say, am I giving up me to make somebody else happy, to provide value to somebody else at my expense? Then Rich said the first thing to do is to not exit the relationship. The first thing to do is just be true to yourself and genuine. And a lot of times if it's a true toxic relationship where the other person doesn't want or value you, they're going to leave because they're not getting the thing that they want anymore, and they really never valued it in the first place. And then thirdly, if you want positive anti-toxic relationships, we could, we could call them antidotal relationships. If you want the opposite of a toxic relationship and all your relationships to be the opposite of toxic, healthy,
be the opposite of a toxic person.
Be the opposite of a toxic person and sow the exact things into others: encouragement, building them up, love,
acceptance.
Just sow that into other people and you'll reap the same thing back. And with that, we thank you so much for joining us on this episode of 5 Ideas. Feel free to check out 5ideas.co. And if you're interested in going further in your life through coaching and consulting, check out coachrichclay.com and sign up for a free consultation. And check out our book, iTunes, available on Amazon. And keep listening to the episodes. There's one right after this. Subscribe to see all future episodes, and we can't wait to see you in the next one.